Today, when we are about to end this year, I think we are remaining with 1.5 or so months before we do away with this year, 2024. I have been forced to bring certain information to do with electricity. This has been necessitated by what I witnessed in the course of this week, the moment when I witnessed one of the homes getting brought down by electrical fault. Most of us, as you all know, electricity is part of the most basic components that most of us can't do without. In every household, there is electricity, the one that aids the lives of those individuals living in that particular household. So now there is something important that you need to understand. So as much as electricity is vital to our lives, at times it could be a disaster to our own lives. In the event it is mishandled, and for you to know how you are supposed to make use of the electricity that has been installed in your homes, you need not to go to an engineering school for you to understand the basics of electricity. This is something that you need to have some first-hand information, the one that would help you to make the best use of it without bringing your life and the lives of any other person that is living within your home setup. So that is why I've seen, or I have thought it wise, to bring you some of the important information that you are supposed to take note of in the event you will find yourself using electricity in your own homes. In civilized electrical wiring, or in standardized electrical wiring, you have been seeing wires that we call cables. And if you have been keen enough, those cables, they are not of the same color. I think that is something that most of you at some point you may have taken note of. Initially, leave alone nowadays, we used to have a color called standard for cables that used to be used in doing wiring at our own homes. The colors have changed slightly, where initially we used to have black wire that stood for the neutral aspect of electricity. But of nowadays, they have changed that black color to blue in color. So for those of you who might have found yourself in a building that was wired several years ago, I think you could be able to discover that there is a black wire cord somewhere. So that black wire stands for neutral. And for those of you equally, again, who have found themselves in a building that was wired several years ago, you will discover that the wire that carries electricity, the life wire, is red in color, not unlike nowadays where it has been changed to brown. So whichever the case, what is important is that you need to understand some of the basic precautions that you are supposed to adhere to while utilizing electricity at your own homes. I have seen people complaining about extension cables. As you can see on my hand, I have an extension cable. Most people have been getting problems with these extension cables, whereby they have come to discover that while plugging some electrical gadgets or equipment into these feeder holes, the holes where you usually plug in whatever kind of equipment or electrical gadgets you could be using. There is a number of occasions where you have witnessed these holes, more especially the live one, getting burned without knowing where the problem is. Remember, proper wiring, once it has been executed, there are some 3 basic wires that runs concurrently within the circuit of installation. So these 3 wires, they include the live wire, which is brown in color. Then we have the blue wire, which is the neutral aspect of electricity, and then we have another wire that has yellow and green color code, which is the earth wires. These wires, if any one of you at some point may have tried to open any socket, you will discover that those sockets, they have slots where each and every 3 wires I've mentioned are supposed to be affixed. There is a number of occasions where you discover that some quacks, electrical quacks in the name of electricians, have been neglecting this wire that has the green and the yellow color code, which is the earth wire. That wire is very important in any electrical circuiting. The very moment you will do away with it, or the very moment you will neglect in affixing it to the slot where it is supposed to be, then that is the reason as to why extension cables get burned without you knowing where the problem is. So most people have been digging deeper into their pockets, buying extension cables without knowing that there could be some mishap in their wiring system within their own homes. That is why it is important, when there is a problem with the wiring system within your homes, it is necessary for you to bring somebody who is qualified to come and identify where the fault is. But the very moment you will bring somebody who doesn't understand how electricity works, he or she might do a shoddy job, a job that will expose your entire home and even lives into a greater danger. So it is very important for you to underline this principle. Wherever you have a problem in your own house in matters to do with electricity, try to engage somebody who is qualified. That is the moment you will be assured that the dangers that may have been brought into your home may have been curtailed, because the very moment you engage somebody who understands electricity, then he will or she will do what is expected. So in normal circumstances, some other people have found themselves complaining that they have been buying tokens, but considering the sequence or the manner on how they have been using that electricity within their homes, they may have been raising doubts or concerns that there could be maybe somebody somewhere who could be sharing their power. That is not the case. The case is, as I had said earlier, it doesn't need you to go to a training school in order for you to know some of the basic principles of electricity. Take, for example, we ourselves are the ones who have been making the entire wiring system to pose some great risks or dangers to our own lives. If you want to consume energy the way it should be, you are supposed to note some of the 3 basic things before purchasing any electrical equipment. That is when you should have prepared a way for you to utilize electricity within your home in a manner that is expected. The first thing, there is this thing that we call wattage. The higher the wattage, the higher the consumption of energy. The moment you buy something that has a higher wattage, be prepared to dig very deep into your pocket in the name of purchasing tokens. The very moment you buy or you purchase a bulb that has got higher wattage, equally be prepared to dig very deep into your pockets in trying to purchase tokens. So that is one important aspect of electricity that you are supposed to take note of. While buying any electrical equipment or gadget, try to go through the specifications given over on that electrical gadget that you are about to purchase, or talk to those guys who are selling those gadgets. If you do not have knowledge, they will guide you on the best kind of equipment that you are supposed to purchase. Another thing that you need to understand, try to buy those equipments that have got the 3-pin plugs. The 3-pin plugs are very important in any electronic equipment, in the sense that there is a wire that is brown in color, the one that carries electricity. Whatever kind of a machine or electronic equipment that you usually buy has been made in such a way that there is a slot that takes the live current from the live wire. So if you buy any equipment that has got the 2 pins, the point from where you will affix them into either the extension cable, there are chances that that particular machine may not be functioning properly, because any electronic gadget or electrical gadget, it is important to engage the earth wire. That is when that machine would be able to perform the way it should be. But now some people have been going for shortcuts, and now simply because you understand, even if you use a 2-pin plug, equally that machine could function. But remember, you are trying to pose a greater danger to your own lives. Even the consumption, the energy consumption within that building you are living in could always go higher, meaning that you might be forced to dig very deep into your pockets in the name of trying to purchase tokens, the ones that would sustain yourself. So those are some of the basic principles you are supposed to do. Another common mistakes that most people have been making, I've seen a number of people leaving chargers, these mobile charging gadgets, on the extension cables without switching them on. They usually believe that by the time you remove either your mobile phone from that service line, even if you leave your charger in that extension cable or in any of the sockets within your home, if that charger is not being used, it won't pose any risk. Let me tell you today, if you have been doing that at your own homes, you have to know from today that now you are now trying to welcome a greater danger. You are exposing your home to some other greater dangers, because in normal circumstances we've been seeing some power suffrages. If a suffrage occurs at times accidental, then that charger may get blown off, and the very moment it will get blown off, it will definitely explode into fire. And if it were mounted somewhere in a socket within your building, then, and maybe you had gone for work and there is nobody in that building, you will be surprised to hear people calling you that your house or your home is on fire. So that is why it is important, before leaving your home, make sure that all electrical appliances have been switched off and disembarked from those sockets. Don't leave them there. Disembark them from those sockets. That is when you shall be sure that now your home is protected. Otherwise, if you develop that culture of leaving them while mounted on those sockets, then at some day you will be surprised to hear when you are away that your home is in fire. So that is why it is important for you to underline this basic principle. That is when you shall be able to enjoy electricity within your own home. There are some other important tools you are supposed to have within your home. One of the most important thing is what we call a tester. A tester is an equipment somebody could use or can use to identify which line or which wire has electrical current, or which wire is a live wire. In so doing, you shall have now known how you are supposed to deal with that wire in the event you discover any part of that wire is naked. That is why it is important for you at some point, even if things have been moving on well, or the circuiting you have at your home has been doing well, or you've not discovered any other problem, it is important for some time to bring a technician to do servicing. Servicing, like any other equipment, is usually done even to the electrical circuiting that has been done at our own homes. That is the moment that those technicians that you've brought will do a thorough check or checkup to discover if there is any other point within that circuit that has now become either loose, or maybe if taping was done and maybe it has dried up, then they will remove the olden one and try to put or to insulate that wire using another new tape. So even this sellotape, the black sellotape, you've been seeing people, all technicians, electrical technicians, having, as somebody who knows what he or she is doing. That is another important, besides having a tester component, you are supposed to have at your home, because at times you may discover there are certain wire that is naked in nature, that is the one that you would use to insulate that naked wire in order to avoid unnecessary accidents. And if you are not sure of that wire, you are supposed to go straight into, there is a component within every home that we call the consumer unit. A consumer unit is where breakers are installed, breakers that would distribute energy into every part of the home depending on the demand. So that is what we call the consumer unit. If you try to open that consumer unit, because there is a slot where you are supposed to open it slightly to see if there is any other breaker that has gone off, in the event that you discover that there are some sockets within your home that does not have power. Usually you may find that either a breaker that is controlling those sockets has gone off. So by the time you open that compartment, that consumer unit, you will discover that there is one big switch that has been installed there. That switch is important. The very moment you discover that there is something funny that is happening with your electricity within your home, before you go and try to look for a technician, it is important for you to put that big switch that you've seen inside that consumer unit to the off position. That is when you shall have prevented your house from getting damaged by any other aspects of electrical faults you may have discovered